Welcome to the Midwest Blitz. It's college football comfort food for the Midwest soul. Now, here are your hosts, Coach Drew and Big Nick.
Welcome to another edition of the Midwest Blitz. It's the Week 8 preview. It's me, Coach Drew, Silent Bob, the coach for Ohio State, the one guy that worked on Pawn Stars, and my co-host, Big Nick. Yeah, yup.
How you doing, Coach Drew?
I'm doing great. With my many professions, as you might know, catch me if you can. In my Harvard degree, I'm also a teacher outside of here. Now, you might know that as factual or fiction, but let's pretend we're in class. Nick, is there anything you want to share with the class?
There is something I'd like to share with the class, Coach Drew. Have you ever seen one of these before? You ever seen one of these?
Ooh, a dunce cap. That's for somebody particular, isn't it? I can't recall. We don't really use that anymore in the modern classroom, but Nick, you might have to give us a refresher.
This is an old school teaching tool that our great-grandparents probably saw when they were in school. So the dunce cap is a tool that the teacher used to use. They would give it to the stupidest kid in the class, and then they'd make him sit in the corner while the other kids made fun of him and told him how damn stupid he was. So at the Midwest Blitz store, we have one of these for every one of you that argued with us and told us Kurt Signetti was going to Penn State. So hit us up at the MidwestBlitz@gmail.com. Get your dunce cap, dumbass. Kurt Signetti ain't going anywhere.
For you.
He just signed an 8-year, $93 million contract. Let's see what we get out of that. Hey, Paul Feinbaum, we got one of these for you too, you dumbass.
Yeah, apparently it didn't age like fine wine like some other people did. And I'm sorry that our podcast equipment isn't expensive enough for you guys. Whether it's the sound quality or us just trying to save $1 here in the Midwest Blitz with inflation, we're going to continue on, and we're going to head over to Nebraska and Minnesota. Nebraska 25 is taking their Star Wars character of a clone, Patrick Mahomes, to the great state of Minnesota, where it's hockey season, but they're still playing football and still at a high level. Only 2 losses, Nick. What do you see out of this game? This is one of your teams that you like.
So, yes, Dylan Raiola brings his Patrick Mahomes cosplay to Minnesota to face the 4-2 Golden Gophers. Nebraska is 5-1 with 1 loss to Michigan. Nebraska, whether you realize it or not, is still alive in Big Ten title contention. And, you know, Husker fans expect this team to contend for a college football playoff spot, and that is very much still on the table for them. So if I'm PJ Fleck, this is not my opinion, but I'm kind of trying to put myself in his shoes. I think that right now Nebraska has a lot of media support and a lot of positive vibes and energy behind them. They're also 5-1, whereas Minnesota is 4-2 with a disappointing loss at Cal when Darius Taylor was injured. But if I'm PJ Fleck, I'm thinking we've beaten Nebraska 4 times in a row at home, and we're somehow a home underdog. I am hammering that point home to my team all week, and I think he is. This Minnesota team that never gets a lot of media attention, kind of like Iowa and kind of like Nebraska. That's why me and Drew like to focus on some of these Midwest teams with passionate fan bases to give them the attention they deserve. This team is not intimidated by Dylan Raiola and what has been a high-flying Nebraska passing game, although Raiola had kind of a rough game last week and threw 3 interceptions. A lot of his teammates, though, including DeCorey Barney, really picked up the slack and helped them pull out a win last week. On the Minnesota end, Drake Lindsey, the freshman, has kind of been on the downtrend after a very strong start, and I really like this redshirt freshman quarterback, Drew. He's a big kid with a big frame. He's got the old-school pocket passer frame. Has played well, but has not played as well since Big Ten play started. Emmett Johnson has had a fantastic year for Nebraska, and I think he's really the key against this Minnesota defense that has a very good secondary. Troy Parrish is having a good year at safety again. You know, he was all Big Ten last year for the Gophers. My bet on this game, with the downtrend from Drake Lindsey at quarterback, the lack of Minnesota running game, which we've been surprised about for the last few weeks, and Raiola having a downswing game last week, is this to be kind of more of a running game for Nebraska. I mean, they're going to throw it around with Raiola a little bit, don't get me wrong. But I've got a bet under 47.5 on this game. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring affair in Minnesota.
Yeah, with ESPN giving Nebraska 75% chance to win on the road, paying on Fox, Big noon is what Fox is held on, and that's going to be at 7 o'clock on Friday. Gophers are looking at 4-2 without a run game. This is a 4-2 Gophers team without a run game. It kind of makes us think if that run game could have got started, where would they be now? Will this game matter more? But Nebraska 5-1, their only loss to Michigan. They did pull out that win against Maryland, and they did beat Michigan State, your other team that we previewed earlier. This is a weird game because you think Nebraska's just going to walk in there and beat them, but this might not be a cakewalk. I'm kind of with you, leaning towards being with the under in Nebraska. Can they cover the spread? It looks like it's sitting at -7.5. I wouldn't even touch that. I would kind of like, depending on what they can scheme in the offense, I might take Minnesota with the +7.5. Matt Rule on the road, he has a lot to prove. And with James Franklin being fired, we don't know what's necessarily next for him over at Nebraska. But they're not playing. And people are getting paid in the Big Ten, and people are getting fired in the Big Ten,
Yes,
as
they
we
are.
heard.
Some people are getting raises in the Big Ten also, Coach Drew.
Huge, very huge raises.
Yeah,
Some
I had
huge
this-
some land.
I had this spread at Minnesota +8.5 when I did my notes, so I guess the line has swung a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. This is a very meaningful game for both of these teams, though, on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to head over to not the Corn Huskies, but the Huskies of Washington are heading over to the Wolverines. They're in Michigan. Now, a lot of times when these Pac-12 teams come down, these former Pac-12 teams come down to the Midwest, people say that sometimes a frigid cold can affect them. Well, this shouldn't be anything new for Washington as they embrace the cold over there. What do you think that's going to play a factor? And this is a 5-1 Washington team playing Michigan, a 4-2 with a lot of question marks, not ranked now. This is another big battle.
This is a huge game for both of these teams, especially Washington, who I believe also still has one loss. So this is a noon Eastern kickoff. I believe this is the Fox Big Noon kickoff on Saturday. And Washington will be playing at 9 a.m. their local time. This is a 9 a.m. kickoff for the body clock of the Washington Huskies, and I really don't like that for them. That could be really the biggest factor. I mean, we're going to talk about offense and defense on both sides, but the 5-1 Huskies do hope to get in the college football playoff conversation while Michigan tries to right the ship after a disappointing performance at USC. So I want to start on the defensive side of the ball for Michigan and talk about Wink Martindale a little bit. I had a conversation with my Michigan insider yesterday, and he was talking about how Wink Martindale, this is somewhat similar to the criticism we've had of Chris Ash at Notre Dame so far this year as the new defensive coordinator, is that Wink Martindale comes from the NFL and he tries to run too many defensive fronts. He tries to move guys around too much, and he tries to play too many different coverages. And when you've got 18, 19, 20-year-old guys, even if they are physically talented, I mean, I think me and Drew have talked about this a number of times here on the Midwest Blitz, but these kids in high school, a lot of them, they're able to dominate with just pure physicality and athletic ability. And so when you bring them up to the next level and they're playing against similar athletes and you're putting them out of position, asking them to do things that they're not comfortable doing, it's really impossible for them to execute it. And so the criticism right now of Martindale is that he's trying to coach college players as if they're professionals, and that last year their defense started slow for that exact same reason. So the comment from my Michigan insider, which I tend to agree with, is he needs to simplify his defense against the Huskies and make Demond Williams beat you. Don't beat yourself by walking your safety up on the line of scrimmage like he's Troy Polamalu and then asking him to retreat and cover the deep third, because Denzel Boston's going to run right by him and catch a touchdown, basically. So I think that defensive improvement is going to be the big thing for Michigan if they're going to have a chance to win this game. This Huskies defense, 0.7 points per game, 17th in America. Okay, this team is 97th. This is the number I was looking for. Disregard the last two. This team is ranked 97th in the country on Pro Football Focus and overall defensive grade. This has not been a really sound defense or a very consistent defense for Washington. So Michigan needs to come out and establish the run, set up Bryce Underwood to do damage after you force the Huskies to walk 8 or 9 guys up in the box. Bryce doesn't have to do too much. Just let him do it when his time comes and let him use his feet when he has the opportunity, because Michigan has the number 25 PFF run grade in the country, and the Washington defense is questionable, as just stated. Let's touch on the Washington offense real quick, though. Demond Williams has been at all year. Dog. He broke school record last week with about 550 total yards. It was about 450-ish passing and another 100 rushing. I mean, this kid is sincerely talented, has a chance to be in a Heisman conversation. He's just a sophomore. In the next couple of years, he's got a chance to be in New York at the end of the season. Denzel Boston, terrific receiver. Jonah Coleman has 500 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns, which is really good. His overall yardage production has not been what we thought it would be. It's been, kind of limited in Big Ten play, but this offense can get hot and score a lot of points in a hurry. So Michigan needs to be sound on defense and not try to get too cute, not try to get too fancy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at that. It also it is Fox, 11 a.m. my time, 12 your time, so it's Central Eastern. That will be Fox's big noon kickoff. And being at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm just thinking about it being crisp, cold in your brain. You're just waking up. One of the stats that stood out to me when I was checking off in my own PFF looks is the Washington Huskies have one of the worst penalties percentages in the land. So Michigan has to combat that a little bit. Now, here's another interesting stat on how this is going to play out if you're a statistician and a nerd like I am. Michigan, right, is one of the worst teams preventing third down. And Washington is one of the better teams converting on third down, right? Now, I'm not going to talk about time of possession. Time of possession is a really weird time. I mean, 2-minute difference. Michigan has like a 28 time control and some change, while Washington has 30. One is 102 to the 52. It's weird. We're not really going to talk about that stat. That's too much nerd stuff. But definitely penalties is a big one to focus on. Washington has to wake up, be ready to go in the big house, which has a lot. It's going to be loud. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. This Michigan team is fighting for their lives for a college football playoffs. I mean, the loss to USC was huge. Huge in the way that if USC happens to beat Notre Dame, which I'm not rooting for, but if USC does beat Notre Dame, that'll help Michigan. But if Notre Dame beats USC, and now you also have Oklahoma, who I understand has had quarterback problems, lost to Texas, Michigan needs to go out there and win every game and not leave it to, and by good margin, do not leave it to the voters to think that this team cannot play in the college football playoffs. Nick, I see you're pulling out your book of notes. Is there anything you want to add real quick?
Well, I mean, I think that Michigan fans are really concerned about the condition of the defense right now in particular, but I was just looking at the rest of the schedule to say if they could beat Washington and get hot right now, if USC were to beat Notre Dame this week, which is not what we're rooting for, but USC will be ranked high. That will be considered a very quality road win. So if Michigan were somehow able to run the table after this, you never know what could happen at Ohio State. It's very possible with their remaining schedule that they could end up 10-2, and with a road loss at Oklahoma and their other loss being at USC, it's not out of the question that they're still eligible for the college football playoff. And I just want to point out, as we move forward now at the halfway point of the season, we're a couple weeks away from the first CFP ranking. So we're going to start shifting our focus to who still has a mathematical shot and also other teams that have a realistic shot of making the playoff right now. So, I mean, it's not impossible Michigan could do it, although I think that their fan base, from my conversations with the Michigan people this week, are a little pessimistic about that, and they're pretty worried about this game. I don't know what the original scheduled game time for this would have been or should have been, but, well, I do know it shouldn't be at noon because that is not fair to Washington. This is a great opportunity for Michigan to seize a quality win here and remain with 2 losses.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we transition to the next game, I do want to point out, once the college football playoff comes out, we are not worried about the AP and the coaches, as that doesn't matter. We're worried about the golden CFP and what they think, because that's where the votes actually matter. So once that happens, we'll be updating you, not the top 25, but the college football playoffs in that matter. Now, we're going to head over to Chicago, where I'm kind of located, and Purdue's going to go up there and bring the drum, which originated from the University of Chicago, for all you people that want to know Big Ten history. That is correct. Chicago University was part of the Big Ten. Now they're at D3, and you wouldn't even know. But that's because of money and other things, but I just think that's funny. And then they gave up their drum to Purdue, and that's why Purdue has their drum. Now, that might be a bit of rivalry because I like Notre Dame and Nick likes IU, but we do support them because it's the Midwest Blitz, and we have to be fair. Now, one of the things I want to talk about this game is Northwestern is 4-2 and 2-1 in the Big Ten, right? Which means the Big Ten is really deep, where any week you can literally win or lose in the Big Ten. Is that what they say? Is that what Paul Philbon says?
Yeah,
Or
you just
any of the other SEC?
you just read my
You can
mind,
win or
Drew.
lose. You can win or lose in
Nebraska,
any week.
Nebraska, excuse me. Northwestern had Las Vegas predicted Northwestern at 3.5 wins before the year. They predicted Maryland at 4.5 wins. I believe Maryland has 4 wins right now, and Northwestern's already exceeded that 3.5 wins. So to anybody that says that the Big Ten doesn't have any depth, it's not really true. Northwestern, with 17 points per game allowed, that's the 24th best scoring defense in the country. And playing in the Big Ten, even the mid-level teams you play have talent. So that shows a level of execution, physicality on the part of the Wildcats. On the other side of the ball, Purdue, allowing 29 points per game, is the 108th best scoring defense in the country. Did we say this game will be at 3 p.m. Eastern on Big Ten Network? If not, that's where you can find it. Purdue is plus 3.5 in this game. This is kind of an interesting spread. So head coach David Braun for Northwestern has built a lot of momentum in Evanston right now. The offense has improved a lot since the beginning of the year with the transfer quarterback from SMU, Preston Stone. He's shown a lot of improvement. The offense is more cohesive. They gained some confidence with the road win at Penn State, which some people think that's not a good win. Well, let's compare the budget and the NIL money paid to Penn State and what's paid to Northwestern, and that's a hell of a win for the Wildcats, no matter how you dice it up. So their confidence is probably at an all-time high right now. Purdue has a really good offense. They've had a good offense all year. They had a good offensive performance against Notre Dame. The problem is the defense. So can defensive coordinator Mike Shear get the defense on track in West Lafayette? That's what they need to start outperforming some expectations and start putting some wins on the board. And if Purdue was able to get a win here, this would be Barry Odom's first road win at Purdue, which would be very exciting for their fan base. So this might be a game that not everyone in the country is excited about, but these two fan bases are definitely excited about it. Northwestern would be ecstatic to be at 5-2, and Purdue would be ecstatic to get a road win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of weird if you look at Northwestern's schedule because they lost at Oregon at home, and we made the joke about the Oregon Duck and the Wildcat having some fun and yada, yada, yada. Oregon goes in there, beats them 34-14. We're talking about they play in a high school field. Well, just again to remind you guys, just in case you guys just think our podcast equipment is cheap, as the green screen keeps flashing in and out because I'm wearing a green shirt and all that stuff. We do know that we're talking about, but Northwestern is building one of the biggest stadiums. And just in case you guys think that kids don't want to go play in big fancy stadiums on the lakeshore, you are absolutely dumb, as Northwestern is going to be a recruiting gold mine in Chicago. You got Oregon that came in and beat them. Okay, sure. They beat USC 17-14. Well, UCLA's been playing well. They beat Louisiana, Monroe, and they beat Penn State 22-21 on the road. Northwestern's playing way above the Mason-Dixon line, also above SEC territory. But again, Purdue, they are in muddy waters as they have not won. They've lost 4 straight. Let's see what happens, as Vegas also doesn't know how to handicap this game, giving Northwestern -2.5 right now. I wonder if people are slamming their bets, so I don't know where that's at, though.
Yeah, I had it at 3.5. Now it's at 2.5, according to you. I want to give a shout out to Griff Wild. I believe he's the wide receiver from Northwestern, who I said looked like, I think I said he looked like a 5'8" walk-on or something, which was really like off color for me to say. The kid's got 470 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns already this year. So Griff Wild, apologies if you or any of your people heard that. That was not intended to be an insult towards you. You're having a heck of a year, kid, and you've really been there for your quarterback. I also want to say, not only do we have Midwest bias for all the corn-fed places like Iowa and Nebraska and Minnesota and Indiana, but we've got Chicago bias for the Chicagoland areas. Coach Drew just gave a recruiting pitch for the Northwestern Wildcats. Thank you, Coach Drew.
Yep. Which is funny because when we get into the recruiting segment, there's a lot of good nuggets I can give you guys some insights. There's a lot of interesting facts about the Chicagoland area, and then Nick also covers the Indy area. Hell, you might see us on 24 Sports and Notre Dame ISD as inside recruiters, information givers.
I'm going to see a Tennessee recruit on Friday night.
There you go.
Yeah.
We got Ohio. Well, that goes into his reffing. See, people
Yeah.
don't like us. Whatever we do, whether we're with our cheap podcast or doing high school football, no one likes us.
I
ever.
ref football and basketball, and I umpire over 250 baseball games a year. I'm well aware that nobody likes my ass. I'm okay with it though. So
yeah, go ahead.
let's go to Madison. Let's talk the Ohio State Buckeyes. Visit the Badgers. Badgers getting 24.5 points last I checked in their home stadium. This is 3:30 Eastern on CBS. If you're a Wisconsin fan, booster, coach, athletic department personnel, this is not a game that you wanted to be on national TV right now. The number one Ohio State University heads to Madison, and I mean, I hate to say it, but if this game gets as ugly as we potentially think it could with a 24.5 point spread against the number one team in the country and what I believe to be the best defense in the country in Ohio State against an offense that struggled to score against pretty much everybody they played, how much longer can this go on for Coach Luke Fickell, who we've been big supporters of, and we are by far not rooting for anyone to get fired, except for maybe Paul Feinbaum or somebody like that, but definitely don't want any coaches to get fired. This just has disaster written all over it for Fickell and the Badgers. Is Ryan Day, so Fickell is an Ohio State guy. Him and Day were on staff there together at one point. Is Day going to go in there and try to absolutely pour it on, or is he going to get an early lead and kind of milk the clock so as not to embarrass what I would assume is at least a professional friend of his at Wisconsin? And every time we talk about Wisconsin's season and how poor it's been, I got to mention the quarterback injuries. But even aside from that, their run defense got absolutely bullied at Iowa last week. I mean, it's not looking good. Coach Drew, your thoughts on Coach Fickell and your thoughts on Coach Day maybe showing a little mercy to his buddy there?
Well, Fickell has a problem because he's going against Bo Jackson, Jerry Rice, and Randy Moss, and then possibly a young Tom Brady. I'm sorry, Ohio State fans. I know you don't want me to mention that. But, I mean, that offense is just phenomenally crazy. O'Neal looks like some character I would be in.
O'Neal got benched last week.
And I'm just pointing him out because he's the stat leader, and I'm looking right at him.
I got you.
But it's just like this team for Wisconsin, they can't get their footing. I mean, This game shouts trap game, but
that's generous.
This isn't the trap game that I'm hunting right now. There's another trap game I'm hunting. This isn't the one. We'll talk about it later in the podcast. But I will say this, Wisconsin, hopefully you can do something that, holds them down. It's so hard. I hate talking bad about Wisconsin, and Fickell came from Cincinnati, and it's rough. But I got to give the Buckeyes the love that they have. I mean, this is a statistical mismatch according to ESPN on my notes that I put down. Ohio State's allowing just 6.8 points per game to lead all FBS teams in scoring defense. The Buckeyes' 34-16 triumph over the number 17 Illinois last week marked the first time anyone had scored double figures against them. Uh-oh. I mean, Wisconsin is a team that only can't get more than 10. So
Wisconsin believe in a shutout victory of Miami, Ohio, week 1, won 17-0. They scored 17 against Miami, Ohio, and that was when they were healthier, although that is the game that their quarterback initially tweaked his knee in. This just seems like a powder keg ready to explode right now at Camp Randall on Saturday, and I really don't like it. I just don't know how else to cover this game, though. Do you think Ryan Day gets the lead early and runs the ball and tries to not pour it on?
I think he's going to run the ball. Ohio State's has a really good run game the last couple of years, and they have it again this year. I mean, even their checkdowns, Wisconsin's I think he's going to try to keep it close. The jump around's going to be fun. It's more like Ohio State's just visiting Wisconsin. Maybe they'll get some brats and some cheese.
For a scrimmage,
Yeah, it's just, again, the most college football thing would be a trap game that somehow Wisconsin wins first quarter and everybody wins their money. But that also would be too crazy.
Wisconsin did come out with a strong first half or opening drive against Michigan and scored, and I thought, this game might be close, and then it really wasn't. But, I don't know, Drew. This game makes me sad. Can we move on?
Yeah, well, we're going to go down to where coaches get paid for a really long time down in Bloomington. Pat McAfee's boy, Sig. Hoosiers.
Hoosiers. The Hoosiers host Michigan State, who is plus 27.5 at 3:30 Eastern on Peacock Saturday. The Spartans limp into B-Town. Aiden Childs was left the game with an injury for the second week in a row last week. Last I checked on the injury report, he's listed at questionable for Saturday. And they come into town to battle for the old brass Platoon. Michigan State took a beat down from UCLA last week, which, as if you guys have been listening, you know that I'm a big fan of Aiden Childs and Nick Marsh and that Michigan State offense, but boy, it's not been looking good for him, especially with Childs dinged up. I'll talk about the brass Platoon for a second. Even when Indiana is mediocre or bad, this is a game that the alumni base and the real IU fans get excited for because it's a trophy game. And although Michigan State does hold a healthy lead in the series, as does almost everybody that's played Indiana for very long, this is a game that the Hoosiers get up for even when they're not good. So the question right now, I guess I'll say, is the Hoosiers fresh off a milestone road win, probably the best road win in program history, at Oregon. Do they lose focus this week? Because that's the recipe for Michigan State to come in and get a little confidence if Indiana comes in cocky and doesn't play hard, which hasn't happened once in 17 games since Signetti's been there. If I put myself in Signetti's head, like I did PJ Fleck earlier, he's going to tell his team the whole country is watching right now. Are we going to take care of business? Or are we going to slack off and prove the haters right by letting these guys hang around? Let's put these guys in a body bag early. And that's going to be Signetti's approach. And you know he's a master motivator if you've watched very many of their games over the last 2 years, which I know a lot of you haven't, which is why people thought they were going to get their ass kicked at Oregon, because you haven't been watching them except for the 2 games they lost last year. I went ahead and put a bet down Indiana minus 27.5. Even if Aiden Childs suits up, he could get knocked out of the game early at any time. And if the backup's in, it's going to be ugly for the Spartans. And that's not to be a hater. That's just my legitimate opinion about it. Michigan State's defense is not going to stand up to this Indiana offense. And although Michigan State's offensive line has been pretty good this year, we saw what this Indiana front seven did to one of the most talented offensive lines in the country at Outson Stadium last weekend. So I got Indiana minus 27.5. Take it with a grain of salt. I am an Indiana fan. I've also been a Michigan State supporter all year, and I just don't think they're trending in the right direction to have a good performance in this ball game. Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, the main thing for Michigan State is Aiden Childs, and that's one of the things, I like this Hoosier ball club. I liked them last year. I think they show a lot of grit. There are only 2 losses. The 2 teams played in the national championship, but apparently that didn't matter. Ever since then, they took it in stride. They went on and recruited. They didn't worry about stars, but as we left off on our recap, we're not worried about arm length and all that stuff. We're about if you can play position and play ball. The thing here is if Michigan State was healthy, which they're not, this game would be a lot more interesting. But Indiana, even after they beat Oregon, this is insane. The amount, a team in the sweets, let me take this back. So a team in March Madness, a 16 seed beats like a number 1 seed, and they're like, yeah, this team's not legit, right? You hear that, right? But Indiana's not that team. They're more like a 3 or 4 team that's winning all these games. But people are like, nah, I don't know, man.
So it's like there is Indiana to being more of a 3 or a 4 seed versus being like a 15 or a 16 seed. Is that the analogy we're making right there?
Yeah. Which is like, it's crazy because they're still like, I've never, and the reason why I make that statement is because in March Madness, I never look down at my sheet and go, yeah, that team right there, that 3, that should be a 17 seed. They should be playing the play-in. But that's what they're saying about IU football. I mean,
yeah,
it's just crazy. I don't know how you don't get behind this. Even if you're not a Hoosier fan, if you just love football, this is a great football story.
It is a great football story. And look, I am an IU fan. If you've been watching for a while, you know that. I go out of my way to try not to be biased. I had confidence this team could have a good season this year. I predicted they would win 9 or 10 games. The Vegas had them at 8.5, which meant they thought they were like an 8 or 9 win team. If you look at the Pro Football Focus stats for Indiana, I'm not even going to bring them up. Actually, Drew, should I bring them up? We'll save that for next week. They're the number 1 overall ranked team in the country. They've got a top 5 defense, run defense. offense, run game. I think their receiver grade is like 7th or something. Like, even by the statistics and the analytics, this is one of the most on the field, best executing teams in the country. I think where we left off with it last week, not to go on too long about it, because this is not one of our spotlight games of the week because of Michigan State's injuries. Cignetti has his own standard for what he recruits. He is not attempting to recruit 4- and 5-star guys. Some of these 4- and 5-star guys are overrated. Some of them have a bad attitude. Some of them maybe don't have the skill set or the body type. He has his own image of what he's recruiting, and he's been terrific at talent development his entire career as a head coach and a great recruiter all the way going back to when he was with Saban at Alabama. So, yeah, this Indiana team has been overlooked. Some people are still overlooking them. Hell, some people thought Saban was going to go to Penn State, and you guys know what we have to say about that. So we told you it wasn't going to happen. I don't have anything else to say about it, Drew. What about you?
Yeah, who did Notre Dame, that's not like wrong chant. Who did Indiana beat this year? Oh, they beat Oregon? Yeah, okay. They probably beat them at home. What, on the road? Well, that was a fluke. That doesn't always happen. They also beat Illinois. Yeah, it was at home. Yeah,
But
only
Illinois
50 points.
Illinois is overrated. Yeah,
Only
well,
50 points.
only 53-point win for the Hoosiers against a legitimate ranked team. And
This isn't a real team. Their coach is going to leave.
I supported Illinois and picked them to beat USC. Did I not, Coach Drew? Illinois is a good team. Indiana is underrated. Illinois may have been overrated in being in the top 10. They probably were, but like they're a legitimate top 20, top 25 team. So I don't know.
Indiana wins the national championship. Yeah, dude, it was all luck. It was all
luck. And then they'll play Georgia, Alabama, and Texas Tech, and it'll be like Alabama overrated, Texas Tech overrated, Georgia overrated. It's like, no, maybe Indiana just has a good team, and maybe they don't have the best talent in the country, but they have more talent than they're being given credit for, and it's being utilized to the fullest by Curt Cignetti on the offensive side, and by Bryant Haynes, the defensive coordinator, has just done a masterful job. I mean, I thought he did a good job last year, but this year, I mean, this is like masterclass of defense. I learn something every time I watch film on Indiana's defense. I mean, they're tough, man.
It's a good team.
They are.
Well, let's go ahead and go visit Master Splinter in Iowa City as he hosts the new Young Cubs, Penn State, as they don't know what's going on. I mean, if I'm a new intern coach or I just got promoted and James Franklin got kicked out, you know what team I don't want to go against? Master Splinter, a guy that's been there for like 27 years teaching the Ninja Turtles how to run the ball and not throw it. Iowa, baby.
The Master Splinter reference for Dean of Big Ten Coaches at Iowa, Kirk Ferentz. Hey, good to see you, Iowa fans. We might have a clip posted for you this week. If we haven't recently, I apologize. We love our Iowa friends, and our Penn State friends might not be so happy with us right now, but
they're not happy with themselves. The coach that they thought they can throw $400 billion to signed with Indiana.
Yeah, well, all right, I'm going to reset myself on this game preview. So Penn State goes to Iowa City plus 2.5 to face Iowa and their tough offensive line, tough defensive line, and the heartwarming children's hospital deal they do. Can interim head coach Terry Smith turn Penn State around the way UCLA's interim head coach has done for them? Because that's been like they were on life support and now they're living their best life at UCLA, at least in the moment. And my short answer to this question, can Penn State do what UCLA did after firing their coach? The short answer is no. They're not going to, at least not this week. And I'm going to tell you why. Not with a backup quarterback, not at Iowa, which is too strong up front. Penn State's run game production wasn't even that good at the beginning of the year when they were playing Sisters of the Poor. Their offensive line and running backs have underperformed this year. I think Katron Allen's played a little bit better than Singleton, but with a backup quarterback on the road against a tough defense, I don't see it happening for Penn State this week. I got a bet in. I got Iowa -3. So it was 2.5, then it shifted to 3. I got it at -3. I thought this game was going to be tricky when Drew Aller was healthy and before their coach got fired. I thought that this was a trap game for Penn State going to Iowa because everybody overlooks Iowa and everybody underestimates how tough it is to win there at Kinnick Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, this team, Iowa's hosting Penn State. I mean, isn't Drew Aller out too? Like, he's out
Yeah,
for the season,
he's
which is
done.
he's done. And this, I feel bad for the kid. A lot of people
Oh,
picked him to
yeah.
win the Heisman, all this stuff,
Yeah.
but, with that being out, you're with the interim head coach. You lost your starting quarterback. It feels like everybody wants to enter the transfer portal. You got the third nail in the coffin, as having two nails is a very interesting way we're going to look at the college football playoffs. Iowa, 4-2, is still fighting for a college playoff berth. Now, this game right here, if they can win, they can still hang, and there's still a lot of game to be played. They've only played halfway through the season, technically, on their schedule. They still got like 6 more games to go, Nick. I mean, this is an interesting game for Iowa. Can they stop Penn State? This is one of the games where, Iowa has to defend themselves against Penn State, who is limping right.
We love our Hawkeye people, and we love people from Iowa, even though people from Iowa hate people from Iowa State and vice versa. I think my problem right now, looking at Iowa and their ability to win out and be in that CFP conversation or hang around and potentially be in a Big Ten title game situation, which the way it looks right now, in all likelihood, Ohio State ends with 1 or 0 losses. They currently have 0, and Indiana probably ends with 1 or 0 losses. So the loss against Iowa State at the beginning of the year is a major setback for them, but they have remaining. Let's say they beat Penn State. They still have Minnesota, Oregon, at USC, Michigan State, and at Nebraska. Their schedule is pretty tough, and I feel like maybe we overlooked pointing that out at the start of the season. But yeah, the Iowa schedule is pretty tough, but this is a team that still very much has the potential to be an 8 or 9 win team if they play their best ball down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's head over to New Jersey, where football all started, and Rutgers is
The
hosting the
birthplace.
Ducks. Hosting the Ducks that are kind of flying in, not as strong because a Hoosier, what is a Hoosier? A person? A bison? A superhero?
Let's do that
Kind of
one
hurt
day.
them a little bit.
Yeah. Well, okay, the number 8 Oregon Ducks head to the birthplace of college football, Piscataway, New Jersey. Rutgers Scarlet Knights are plus 17.5 at this game. This is a 6:30 Eastern Standard Time kickoff on the Big Ten Network. The Dan Lanning Revenge Tour starts this week in Piscataway against the struggling Scarlet Knights defense. Who did Rutgers play last week? And I said, yeah, this is going to be a get-right game for this offense. I think it was Washington. Well, this is going to be a get-right game for Oregon because the Rutgers defense, as of last week, was rated 3rd worst in the country by Pro Football Focus. I'm not sure that could have upgraded much after last week's game, where I believe they gave up 38 to the Washington Huskies. I want to give a shout-out, though, to Ian Strong for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. The Scarlet Knight receiver is averaging over 100 receiving yards per game. He's played 5 out of their 6 games so far. He's had 100 yards in every single one of them. This guy's got NFL future. He's got a good skill set. Pretty sure he's 6 foot, 6'1". Might be wrong about his height. I don't want to get his height and weight wrong, but Ian Strong is having a hell of a year, and Rutgers has been really overlooked. We've talked about the quarterback, Kaliak Manis, who has had a pretty solid year himself, but I don't think that Rutgers passing game is anywhere without Ian Strong. So I wanted to point him out. But speaking of passing games and quarterbacks, Dante Moore's he's gonna drop some dimes against the Scarlet Knight secondary.
Yeah, this team, even though they lost to Indiana, this team is very, very deadly to head into the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
There's a time and place where we say things, and when what they say is the biggest matchup of the year happens at the end of the year. We're not talking about Army and Navy, and I don't want to sound like I'm picking favorites, but I will give it away by saying the national championship lost to one of their biggest rivals. Right? Indiana, Oregon isn't a rivalry yet, but they did lose, and they ran the tables. So sometimes you just need to get punched in the mouth to wake up and say you're not invincible. So it's going to be interesting to see how Oregon responds, as they still have a nail to play with. I don't think this one we have to worry about Rutgers, but we'll see what happens. Do you want to go to the next game?
Yeah, Drew, where are we going next?
Well, we're heading to the West Coast. Now, this team, as I gave another new name to Iowa with Master Splinter, I want to label this team UCLA Icy Hot, because they started off this year super cold, and if you ever put on Icy Hot, it is pretty freezing. But then out of nowhere, randomly, it gets super damn hot. And that's
Yes,
what
it
this
does.
UCLA team's done. after they fired their head coach and everybody left this team like a bad thinking of dropping a child off at the fire station, they decided to figure it out, and Thor came down and saved them, the offensive coordinator. This team is very interesting right now. Nick, go ahead.
Jerry Neuheisel is Thor, and the UCLA Bruins are icy hot. I love it, Coach Drew. The Maryland Terrapins were plus 3.5 last I checked the spread heading to Bruinland. Now, this was a game a couple of weeks ago that we would have thought, even I would have thought, why would we even cover this game? But you know what? Maryland's having a hell of a year. Maryland has a hell of a defense. And UCLA, the Dr. and Jekyll, Mr. Hyde right now, they've been hot. They stay hot. My question for UCLA is, can you continue to run Nico as often as you have? I believe he had 16 rushing attempts their last game, and that's pretty close to what he's been getting per game since the coaching change. So I feel like Nico is going to be in trouble of, taking too many hits if they keep doing it, especially next week when they go to Indiana. But we'll talk about that when it's time. And this Maryland defense has some heavy hitters too. Also, Washington, the freshman quarterback from Maryland, has had a good year this year. I think this could be a fun game, and Maryland, I think, on their end says we need to win this game to prove that we are who we thought we were, starting out 4-1 or whatever the case was. And UCLA, dude, they're like the Beach Boys. They're just riding the wave right now. I don't think UCLA has jack shit to lose. I mean, if you're UCLA, it's all fun and games right now, and you've been balling for the last few weeks. So I think there's no pressure on UCLA. I think there's a lot more pressure on Maryland. What time is this game being played, Drew? Do you have it pulled up?
7 o'clock Eastern time on FS1.
Okay, I mean, I don't consider the travel for an evening game from an East Coast team going to the West Coast to be that big of a hindrance. FS1, that's where you catch that one. I think this could be a fun one. It's certainly meaningful for these two teams and these two fan bases, but UCLA's playing with house money right now, and I think that makes them dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. I thought we were going to see some people at the transfer portal, and they didn't. They're sticking to their guns, so they like UCLA. UCLA must be a fun place to be at right now because, again, they're hot. They're hot. Being in LA, they're hot. The team's hot.
The girls are hot.
The girls are hot. USC's over there, too, their rival. So here's the thing with these two teams. You have Maryland, who's 4-2, going against a team that's icy hot 2-4. Is the Big Ten the SEC? Is this new? Do I have to call ESPN and say that they have to change their names and rights and turn off all that ESPN blur and have to support the Big Ten? Because they're about to lose a lot of money. Even though, here's a fun fact, even though they're supporting all these SEC schools, we are not mentioning any of them, as there is 3 top 25 teams. But let me tell you something. It's only 3 top 25 teams is because of biases. There should be more Big Ten teams that are up there and playing up there. The Big Ten needs to be respected more because, you know what? America runs through the Midwest, not the SEC, all right? I just wanted to point that out. All right.
Dude, nobody in their right mind wants to play this UCLA team right now just because, like we said, they're the wild card. They got nothing to lose. They're red hot. Their team has chemistry right now. Now, we'll see how far they can ride that going towards the end of the season. And Maryland was supposed to be an ultimate basement dweller in this conference and has been. I mean, the defensive strides this team has made under Mike Locksley this year, I think that's what's most surprising. Maryland's always had a good passing game, more or less. But the defense being as stout as it is makes them dangerous with a talented quarterback, and he's able to distribute the ball to his playmakers. Yeah, the bottom of the Big Ten is way better than it's been given credit for. I mean, dude, some of these, okay, Texas's defense has been great, and they are great. And they had a big win against Oklahoma last week. Shout out to the Longhorns. This offense has been dog shit all year. And, that's just the way it is until they lit up their rival last week. And still the SEC ESPN hacks will talk about how dangerous they are. Who's given any press to how good this UCLA team is playing or how good Maryland's playing? I mean, even Purdue looks better than we thought they would. And, their defense isn't great, but they're dangerous on offense. So this whole narrative that the bottom of the SEC is so much better than the bottom of the Big Ten, maybe it is a little better. I don't watch the SEC as much. But it's a false narrative, as I think was your point, to support the SEC teams and try and get as many of them in the playoff as possible.
Absolutely. Is it time to travel to where we're going to be this weekend?
To the actual cathedral of college football, Notre Dame Stadium.
Some say it's the Mecca of football. Some say it reminds you of some poor Catholics who said they can't play football and were bullied by other big public schools. Some say that Jesus overlooks the team and is always telling them to score touchdowns. With their gold helmets, their rich history, their rich culture, and a man of Marcus Freeman, the Stoic. The book of Stoicism runs through Marcus Freeman, where you can't control your destiny, you can only control what's ahead of you and in the now. Going against the Trojans from the West Coast, and what could be the last rivalry ever game played here in South Bend. Matt Leinart and Brady Quinn have been battling back and forth all week. You gotta buy a subscription to Peacock probably to watch this game. But I digress from that, because you could probably get on NBC because they're gonna let you watch it for free. Because this is the last one, possibly ever. Because apparently USC can't deal with playing big games anymore. They're out of the Pac-12 and in the modern new SEC, where every game you have to win. Notre Dame, everybody. Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish.
The number 13 Notre Dame Fighting Irish will be at home to take on their heated, longtime rival USC Trojans, and this is the last scheduled meeting in this classic rivalry as it stands right now. USC at 5-1 with a loss to Illinois. Notre Dame at 4-2, starting with 2 tough losses to Miami and Texas A&M to start the year. Notre Dame is fighting for their playoff lives in this game. Lincoln Riley has a chance to get the biggest win of his USC career in this game. This is about as classic. I mean, unless they were both ranked in the top 5 or they were both undefeated, this is about as classic of a stage to be set for this storied rivalry, especially if they're not going to play again forever or for who knows how long. I want to point out for the Notre Dame offense right now that starting center Ashton Craig is out of this game. Joe Otting will be stepping into the starting center role. I heard some stats earlier this week about how often a team wins and loses without their starting center. I'm not going to quote the stat because I couldn't verify it, but it's not good. And I know from coaching and playing experience that having a smart, experienced starting center in the lineup does everything for your offensive line to get organized and set pass protections for your quarterback. Now, although C.J. Carr, the superstar freshman quarterback, the best freshman quarterback in America, Coach Drew, can we say that?
Yeah, one of the best, if not the best.
He's fantastic at helping set protections, but having a center, think the old Peyton Manning, Jeff Saturday connection. It means a lot when you lose your starting center. But let's step aside from the injury loss for a second and say the best backfield in America, Love and Price. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, I think that question's been eliminated for a few weeks now. And we've got to say that the Malachi Fields edition, the Virginia transfer, has been awesome. And you know who's been catching lately? Your boy used to light me up with in college football 25. Pauling, the Wisconsin transfer, has been really good the last couple weeks for the Irish. He's got his swagger back, man. He looks really confident out there. So Notre Dame's offense has the weapons. They've been lighting it up. They have one of the best offenses in America. They're ranked 17th by Pro Football Focus for their running game, and their receivers are ranked number 3 by Pro Football Focus. USC's are number 1, by the way. Spoiler alert. But both of these teams are capable of lighting you up passing the ball. But if I'm Notre Dame in this game, I don't want to turn this into a shootout early with USC. I want to establish the run, and I want to beat USC up front. And here's why. The USC defense has the number 63 run grade on Pro Football Focus. And when they played, Notre Dame Insider told me to look this one up. Their run defense grade against Illinois was good for a 60%, which if you compare that out to the average, makes them the 100th best run defense in the country. So I might be the only one in this conversation that actually watched the Illinois-USC game. I might be the only bastard that actually picked Illinois to win that game, and the reason I picked them was because I thought their offensive line was going to come out and smack USC in the mouth. There's been a lot of talk this week about how physical USC is and physical this and blah, 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 blah. The only game, okay, I'm throwing out the Michigan game. I guess we got to give them credit for how they contained the running game against Michigan, but Michigan didn't execute well in that game. And that was a home game for USC. On the road at Illinois, this defense got the ball run down their throat. And this is why I brought up, I'm the only one that actually watched the whole game probably involved in this conversation. Illinois ran the ball right down their throat all the way down the field on a couple different drives and fumbled the ball on the 1 yard line going in, which kept the score close. Illinois ended up beating USC on a last-second field goal, but in reality, Coach Drew, that should have been a 2-touchdown game. I don't remember the last time I saw 2 fumbles on the 1 yard line when the running back was about to score a touchdown. I mean, it was crazy. They were completely dominant at the line of scrimmage on both of those drives where they fumbled. So the offensive line for Notre Dame, even with an injury at center, should be capable of coming out and bullying this USC front. This USC front looks tough when they play smaller, weaker teams like Georgia Southern, that they don't look so tough when you come out and run north and south and go right at them. So I want to see Notre Dame. I know we say this about a lot of teams and we say it every week, but especially in this game, we want to see Notre Dame establish the run early and allow C.J. Carr to throw the ball when necessary, which he's very capable of doing. But we don't want to come out and have a tough passing drive where we go 3 and out and then give it back to Maava, because Jacoby Lane and Makai Lemon are the big 3. This is the number 1 PFF receiving grade. Like I said, Maava is a baller. He will put the ball on a dime if you give him time to sit back there and throw the football. This is not a quarterback that you want to trifle around with and give him time to throw. So is Notre Dame going to be able to do that? Has Chris Ash made adjustments? Because, I mean, we've been on Chris Ash all season. Maybe a little too harsh early. That's what some Notre Dame fans thought. I just call him like I see him. I think that a lot of proud football programs of Notre Dame's caliber would have been way more angry with Chris Ash. But the Irish fans do have a little bit of grace, I guess, compared with some of the other old school blue bloods. So adjustments made by Chris Ash. This is some positive stuff that I've seen. They've had some delayed blitz concepts that have gotten home pretty cleanly in the last couple of weeks. Or one in particular that I'm thinking of, but the concept being installed as a weapon they have at their disposal. I feel like they've been doing less thinking. I think that they have watered down some of the play calls, if I can use that term, in order to make it simpler, to let your athletes just go be athletes, run, hit, tackle, cover, play defense. Don't make them think too much. I think they've made some progress in that direction, although I will say they've played some teams that don't have the passing weapons. I mean, a Boise State was just not equipped athlete-wise to challenge this Notre Dame secondary the way that this USC offense is. And then also got to mention Gabe Rubio, who's been a solid rotational defensive lineman for Notre Dame for the last 3 years, who has 13 tackles this year, is going to be out with an elbow injury. I don't know his long-term prognosis, but Gabe Rubio is out this week, which does hurt a little bit, but I think Notre Dame has enough bodies and enough talent, if they come out and execute well, that's not going to kill them. So here's an interesting question that I don't have an answer to, but it's worth raising as we talk about this Irish defense's ability to contain this explosive USC offense. Notre Dame has struggled in 3rd and short. So you think, okay, they're not stopping the run in short yardage. They've also struggled in 3rd and long, but in 3rd and medium, they've done quite well, which is kind of weird, right? You might think, oh, well, they're good at long yardage or they're good at short yardage because of X, Y, or Z. I can't make heads or tails of this short yardage / long yardage 3rd down problem that this Notre Dame defense has, unless we chalk the 3rd and longs that they're giving up back to mine, because I have not and will not question the athletes and the ability of these Notre Dame defensive backs when they are put in a position to be successful. I mean, the last couple of weeks, there have been some layup interceptions thrown to Irish defensive backs, and you know what? They scoop them up and take them to the bank. Like, the Irish have a capable secondary. I just can't figure out why you struggle on 3rd and short and 3rd and long. That's just really, really weird to me, Coach Drew. One last thing, and then I'm going to give you the floor for a minute. The USC offensive line they are talented. They are big. They are athletic. I do not see this group they don't have a bunch of maulers that come out to rip your head off every time, but they've got big guys that have good footwork that get in your way. I think this has to be an attitude game for Notre Dame. Coach Drew?
Well, I'm glad you talked about attitude. We talk about effort. We have the man, Marcus Freeman, one of the highest paid coaches. He's not going anywhere, just like Signetti. Our coaches are staying put. Probably Odom's going to stay put, too, at Purdue. I'll give them some credit, too.
Yeah.
We have some really good coaches now in Indiana.
In the
This
state of
Indiana football
Indiana.
is going to be... State of Indiana is going to be a crazy place to play football.
Sure is.
I will say... I'm going to say this. I'm going to tell a story. So everybody gather around the campfire. It's your normal day where we're going to talk about some Notre Dame football.
Are we roasting
They open up-
marshmallows?
We are roasting marshmallows.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to roast some Trojans. Now, before we get there, we went to Miami and we lost 27-24 right after the national championship. We're one of the only two teams that I can recall that played somebody hard on that weekend that actually mattered, and that was what was it? Texas and Ohio State. I mean, we came out and we put our money where our mouth is. All right. Then I got tickets. I went to go see Texas A&M, right? And I'm not going to talk about the last play, but we did learn a lot about that team, and we started 0-2. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, this podcast is cool. We're doing a lot of cool things here, but this USC game is not going to matter. Not so fast, my friend. Just
Not
has a
so
great league
fast.
course. So I'm going to tell you what, these Irish, man, it might be us kicking your ass, because now you're going to lose a letter, because that's how bad Notre Dame has to beat USC to help save their season. This has to be the last quality win. Now, going down the list of the Notre Dame games, you beat Purdue and you gave up 30. We criticized them. Arkansas, they gave up 13, went to an SEC, which is highly, praised. We fired their coach. Okay, so we don't get a lot. Boise State was ranked at one time a college football playoff team. We beat them, only gave up 7. We played North Carolina State and gave up 7. If we can shut down this offense that's been really well for USC and put up a lot of points, we're almost in the driver's seat. One of the random things that I saw, because I like to look at future bets, is I like to invest in teams so I can watch games. It's just one of the things I like to do and enjoy responsibly, right? They have Notre Dame. Vegas has Notre Dame minus 155 going to the college football playoffs. That just makes it. That's the top 12 teams, and I thought that was very interesting because they have 2 losses. Well, the 2 losses are to 2 top 5 teams. Not at the same time. Well, back-to-back, but they weren't top 5 at the time. But looking at it, those are 2 quality losses. I know I hate saying that word, and I don't like thinking about quality losses. But at the end of the day, if that's what it takes for Notre Dame to get into the college football playoffs, hell, let's do it. Let's run the table, right, with Indiana. Hopefully we don't play each other. We're on the opposite brackets.
Don't do that to us again, please. God, that was awful, especially for us. Yeah, I mean, Drew, you make a valid point that if they're able to have a win against USC this weekend, especially a convincing win, which we know that style points do matter when it comes to playoff bids for the new 12-team college football playoff, Notre Dame is absolutely in the driver's seat. And, I wouldn't say this about every team. The playoff committee, and look, if you haven't heard us talk about this yet, television runs college sports. The expanded playoff format, which I really like because it involves more teams, it makes the regular season more meaningful. They want Notre Dame involved. If Notre Dame can come out with a statement win here at home against the Trojans, the Fighting Condoms of USC, they're going to be sitting pretty because they're going to be favored in every game for the rest of the season and favored by quite a bit in a few of these games. So, it's all on the table here for Notre Dame. It's all here for you. This is must-see TV if it ever was. Rivalry game, especially middle of the season. For a mid-season game, you got a rivalry game with heavy playoff college football, like college football playoff implications. If I could learn to talk, Coach Drew, it would just be so wonderful for this podcast. This is as good as it gets, man. This is as good as it gets on a Saturday night in October. And me and Drew will be there. We hope to see you there. Shout us out if you see us. But God dang, does it get any better than this? How lucky are we? How lucky are me and you that we get to go to this game? It's crazy. And this is not the first time we've been there to see him play SC, but yeah, it's going to be awesome, man.
It's going to be normal shit talking. I thought when you said props, I thought you were going to go buy some Trojans and poke holes in them. I thought I was going to have to blur out some stuff. Thank God you didn't do that. That would have been a lot of editing I would have to do. I was going to tell everybody to get really hyped about this. According to Vegas and me are thinking the same thing. I was going to tell everybody, and I was going to go up here and grab my sword and throw some loot, and I was going to say, bet on Notre Dame's spread, 9.5. I was going to say Jeremiah Love anytime touchdown. and Jaden
Another
Price
good one.
anytime touchdown. That gets you a whopping plus 190 combined for all three of those. Jeremiah Love is minus 350. I think when kickoff happens, I think Jeremiah Love just gets the ball in the end zone. And then Price is minus 205. The handicap on here is ridiculous. I mean, if you don't think we have the best running backs, where else do you see not your first, but both your running backs handicapped minus 200 against USC's defense at home? Woo! That's insane. Let's talk about that for a second. Holy hell.
Let's talk about this point spread for a minute. I think me and Drew have a little bit of a different perspective on this. Can you find the current line? I had the opening, or whenever I looked at it, USC was plus 9.5. Notre Dame given 9.5 against a team with the offensive capability of USC after Notre Dame has been questionable on defense at times this year. I just found that to be a lot of points for USC to be getting. I just thought it was a lot. I thought it was so many that I am rooting for the Irish, but I have bet USC plus 9.5. And if I lose the bet, that's fine. We're going to party like it's 1999 in South Bend. I got no problem with losing that bet, but gosh, 9.5 is a lot of points. I think this game could turn into, it has the potential to turn into one of those games that's a shootout at the end and the last team that gets the ball wins. I could see this being that kind of game. It's not the kind of game I want to see Notre Dame play, but it could definitely happen if you look at the style that both of these teams have played at this point in the season.
Talking about USC and Notre Dame, I mean, this is a football classic. New Rockne used to get those boys on a train and travel all to USC to play them in football. The first modern big-time games went through Notre Dame. You know, Notre Dame, New Rockne was actually recruited to go to USC, and he almost did. But he had this thing called integrity. And I'm just going to say this. USC always never had that thing called integrity. Now, I'm not going to talk about controversy about being paid for a waffle or something earlier in the year where this man with the bush didn't go anywhere with the trophy. I do think he should have the Heisman back. I'll say that. That's the nicest thing I'm going to say about USC. I don't want to get myself too caught up, right? Well, USC, it's 6 o'clock or 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. Is that late enough for you guys, or do you need us to push the clock back further? I mean, are you going to keep complaining about coming to the Midwest? By the way, you might want to stop in Chicago before you come to South Bend and go to some stores down there, because you're going to need some Nike Techs and some big fur coats, because I don't think you're going to like it when it's 51 degrees and you're getting your ass beat on national TV, like when Caleb Williams was there. I know, I had to say it, but at that time, Caleb Williams wasn't my guy, and he got his ass beat. And somebody on this podcast, not me that time, I actually saved my money because of Ohio State, I will admit it, ended up on the field. So,
Somebody on this podcast was pissed drunk and jumped off that giant wall, almost bodied a state trooper on his way onto the field, which was completely accident. Yeah, somebody had a real good time at the last time the Trojans were in town. Somebody had a fantastic time.
Well, if you look at the comparison of the mics, and I don't know if you could tell who's taller or all this stuff, but Nick is about 6'4", and I'm not a mathematician, but let's take the force of gravity of him landing on a state trooper and how this podcast might not happen. That's actually the math we're going to do here.
This guy was pretty big too. Dude, it was bedlam. People running everywhere. Dude, when I hit the ground running onto the field, that wall's like 8 or 9 feet tall.
Oh, yeah. I was there with Clemson.
So I hit the ground running and I'm thinking, because there were cops out there, I'm thinking, don't run into a cop. Don't run into a cop. And then I'm running. Man, I hit chest to chest with this dude. I didn't even know who it was at first. I just held them up. I wrapped my arms around him to keep him from hitting the ground. And then I don't know if anyone ever watched the old Yogi Bear cartoon when the park ranger's always after him. And I was like, holy shit, it's Ranger Smith. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Are you okay? He goes, yeah, I'm okay. And I'm like, all right, see ya. And then I took off running.
That must have been fun.
Yeah.
We went down and we upset at Clemson, and Shipley was back there as running back, and I remember the ushers looking at us, and I remember thinking about what was going on. And this is the first time that we rushed first time for Tyler too, our friend of the podcast, who also rushed it with Mr. Nick over there. When he looked at me, he said, "If they go, we're going." And I was like, "What?" He's like, yeah, we're jumping. And Nick jumped. We both jumped the same one. I'm going to tell you something. When you jump that plane, you're falling, and there's about like an hour that goes by, and you're just like in clouds. And then you hit the ground. The first thought, I'll never forget the first thought that crossed my head when this happened. I said, holy shit, I'm on Notre Dame's field. Holy shit, there's no turning back. Holy shit, I'm about to be on this for a long time. And I remember the Skycam kept coming over us. And I'm like, I'm about to be on ESPN. And it was just lit. Some of the players stayed out there. There was like this dude that was like 54 with the helmet on. And I remember one of the players coming up to him. He's like, hey, I need that. And he's like, what? What? You need this? You need this? And he's like, yeah, dude, I got to go to the locker. That's one of our helmets. Like, just some silly stuff that happened. I think the kicker was out there for a long time, and Michael Mayer passed me, and I dabbed him up, and now he plays for the Raiders. I mean, it was a great time.
I dabbed up Antoine Randall after his last game in Indiana when they beat Purdue. I was in high school still, and I walked by and like popped him on the shoulder pads, and I was like, good game, Antoine. And he turned around like, who the hell just hit me? And then he saw me, and I probably had a big old goofy smile on my face, and he was like, thanks, kid. And I was like, he just talked to me. That was so cool.
It's
good
so
times,
crazy,
man. Good times.
Now he's with the Bears. It's crazy how all the things are like aligning. For many of you that don't know, when we started this podcast, it all started over college football, playing our college football, just chatting about football. And we're in a very special year with Nick, because Nick is a huge IU fan, and IU's on this magical run, and he gets to talk about it every podcast. So I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes I have to just let him run, because this is a very special moment. Now, being a Notre Dame fan, we get this a lot. It happens. We're always picked to be favorites. But I'm just glad that Nick gets to talk about his team as much as I get to talk about my team, and we're just having a grand old time.
I'm
glad the shoes now.
Would have never thought that, Indiana would be where they're at. I would have never thought that I'd have good Notre Dame friends that would help get me into the USC game, the Ohio State game, all these games we've gotten to go to. I mean, it's been a beautiful 2 years of football, Drew. I feel like this is a Midwest goodbye. I feel like that's where we're at right now.
It is a Midwest goodbye. We're going to be out and about. If you find us, we're going to be posting a lot of this stuff now until Saturday. We're going to be on campus. Try to find us. We're going to tell you what we're looking like. We're going to take pictures. We're going to interview some people. We're going to show you what Notre Dame's all about under the lights. Gives me chills.
We might have a shot of Fireball or a gummy bear for you. Who knows?
I will tell you this. There's this video I got walking into Notre Dame during the college football playoffs, and I'm so glad I caught the moment on my cell phone. You're walking into it, and they're like, let's go Irish. It almost reminds you of maybe something like a video game or a movie where they're like, the camera's just following and be like, let's go Irish. I mean, it was electric. That's what we're looking at.
If you're not a Notre Dame fan, and like he just said, I'm a lifetime Indiana fan, but I don't have any problem with Notre Dame. That's part of Midwest football lore. Notre Dame Stadium, if you grew up playing football or loving the sport, Notre Dame Stadium is maybe the coolest place in the world to watch a football game. There's an aura there, as the Youngs say now. There's a legitimate aura and a legitimate feel when you're walking in there, especially for a big game. I mean, we went to the college football playoff game last year. We've been to Ohio State, USC. We've been to all these big-time matchups. Notre Dame Stadium is a trip. If you ever have a chance, someone throws you a ticket or whatever, and you're on the fence about going, I promise you should go. It's an experience. If you love football half as much as I do, you will never forget your first time at Notre Dame Stadium. And the fans there have always been very gracious to me, even ones that knew I was an Indiana fan when I was there. I mean, it is an awesome place to watch a football game. Please go if you get the chance.
Yeah, and where we sit is usually the lower bowl, so you usually see us. We get really, really close. The tickets aren't expensive. I tell people this all the time. You pay like $300 to $250 to go see the Colts or Bears play, and you get like some guys that are like, yeah, my fantasy team, or you get like some guy that's like, why is Daniel Jones the quarterback? Why does Caleb Williams paint his nails? Why are we running the ball? Like, you don't get it. When you go to college football, you're like, man, I'm in college. I will also say this. The difference between a college football game not only being cheaper for quality seats, I also say this. It's very weird. Imagine watching the World Series And you're like, man, that was awesome. Shohei Ohtani just hit a walk-off bomb to win the World Series. And then you go outside, and then there's Shohei Ohtani like 2 feet away from you. He's like, what's up? That's what you get out of college football. Notre Dame's very cinematic like that. There's ways where you can see players after the game. They just literally drive past you with their Raising Canes. That's how you identify. If anybody, there's a secret. If you want to know if you're a Notre Dame football player, you're driving your little scooter with your Raising Canes. That's how you ID a Notre Dame football player.
Yeah, when me and Tyler stormed the field after the SC game a couple of years ago, we're on the field and I'm kind of like, all right, how do we get out of here? We went down. It was like Tyler knew the entrance to the Bat Cave. We walked right by the locker room, and then Tyler knew where the emergency exit by the locker room was. And I was like, how the hell do you know that, dude? But yeah, I mean,
well, when you're an ISD premium subscriber, you know where all the exits are in the stadium.
You
even know where the emergency bathroom is for the refs if they have to take a shit mid-game.
You get the blueprints to Notre Dame Stadium. Man, that's pretty special. Coach Drew, well,
I'm getting chills. I'm like about to run through a wall.
I know. I'm ready to jump off the wall again. I better not, though, because I broke my ankle last summer. I think my wall jumping days might be over. They should be.
Just got to bend the knees.
Bend the knees. My knees aren't worth a crap anymore either, so it's kind of a tough.
We got to get some springs somewhere.
I'm going to talk to Coach Drew when we get done, but I've come up with some exciting plans for some off-season content that we're going to do that I'm going to run by Coach Drew when we get off the phone, so hopefully he's not mad at me, but I wanted to announce that for anyone who has stuck around with us this long. We love to have you guys here on our Midwest Goodbye. It's not the most essential part of the program, but it's a time for us to just share fun stories and football memories, which is really what this show's all about. I've got some fun
original content.
It is. I've got some good plans for off-season stuff where we're going to kind of honor the history of the game for different teams in the Midwest, and you guys are really going to enjoy it. I've got a special Notre Dame, the origin of the Notre Dame-Michigan rivalry, and my Michigan insider, who is a literal historian. He's a history teacher, and like this guy, he digs into it deep. Me and him are going to put something together, and then me and him and Coach Drew will get together on here and share it with you guys in the off season, so we can live college football year round here on the Midwest Blitz. Coach Drew, you got anything else?
Well, like we always forget to mention because we're not always about it, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. That's how we get more expensive podcast equipment. That's also how we also can afford to our English lessons so we can read more.
That's where we get money. That's where we get money for our arts and crafts projects also.
Yep. How am I going to afford Football for Dummies? How am I going to afford that book? Because we don't know football. We just say things. We don't know what we're talking about.
If we don't get subscribers, I might not be able to afford my Pro Football Focus subscription next year. I got that for you guys, by the way. I hope you appreciate it.
Yep. Well, this is Coach Drew signing off.
All right.
Yeah, yup.
Yeah, yup. We'll see you guys later.
Later.